Let's visit Barcelona and learn from the DevBcn visitors.
Welcome to the Foojay Podcast, all your news about OpenJDK.
Early July, the DevBcn conference in Barcelona brought a diverse lineup of speakers with topics across multiple technology domains. Geertjan Wielenga took the camera and microphone with him to Spain. Together with Nacho, Cougil and Jonatan Vila, two of the organizers, he spoke with many of the visitors about what they like the most in Java, how AI influences the way they work, and what is important to them in the work they are doing. We have more than 20 people who are passionate about the Java community in this podcast and are eager to share their knowledge with you. Let's start.
Okay, I'm Nacho. I'm from Barcelona and I'm the organizer, one of the organizers of the conference. So here I am, trying to make everything working.
My name is Jakub. I am also from Barcelona right now and I'm volunteer at DevBcn.
Perfect. So it's a wonderful conference. Can you tell us about the background, what's been going on over the past years, how it came about?
Well, it's a very good question. The thing is, the story starts like 10 years before, let's say, when I was unemployed. Some of my colleagues told us, in fact, in a barbecue, saying, "Oh, we have to do something bigger. What about doing something like we can meet more people, etc." And that's why, because I was unemployed, we started thinking, "Oh, we could gather more people instead of small meetups, to do something bigger." Because we started to grab attention in Barcelona. And that's why we started the first JBCN conference in 2015. And from there, well, here we are. And nowadays, looking for Kubernetes topics to AI topics to Java still, Java for the future, what is coming from the front end, what is the cloud, whatever. So everything, all the topics right now are, let's say, they can join, let's say, in the conference and eager to know what the community, let's say, wants to know, let's say, in the future.
You said it's 10 years, but it's not the 10th conference.
I know.
It's 10th conference?
Yeah.
We are not celebrating it as if it was the 10th conference.
That's the issue.
Where's the cake?
Where's the party?
What is the cake?
The cake?
Where's the cake?
That's a good question. Do we need a cake for the 10th? Why not for the 9th or 7th, 8th? So a cake every year?
10 is a big number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but
When my kid turned 10,
you will celebrate.
yeah, it was celebration.
You will not celebrate when he has 9. No.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Well, we can fix that.
We are celebrating by having this interview for the Foojay Podcast. This is a celebration.
Thank you very much.
My name is Bert Jan Schrijver. I'm CTO at Open Value, and I'm also in the board of the Netherlands Java User Group. So what excites me about the Java community is the people like you and me. So at events like this, it's amazing to meet people who you know for a long time or new people and hear about what they're working on and all the amazing stuff they're doing with Java, basically.
So my name is Ricardo. I have a YouTube channel actually from basically main Java and also Spring Boot. So the name is Programando en Java. It's in Spanish, unfortunately. So I have been just working with Java for 12 years. Well, Java, Kotlin, everything related with JVM. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I find amazing language.
Tell us something about your YouTube channel and what you do there.
So I have been started for 4 years. So right now we are around 16,000 people. Of course, Spanish people, Latin American people. And I just from the basic, from what is a hash map, an array list, to architecture things adapters and ports architecture, or everything related with configuration with Spring Boot. I try to make more personal now. More, for example, the last video that I uploaded was more about imposter syndrome. So I try to help people out, of course, and I try to teach them with my courses, with my videos. I also have a small community in Discord that we're chatting and we just try to make progress together. Because some of them are also juniors. So they're trying to find the first job and they share their knowledge, they share their experience. And to be honest, if I would like to share it, in my point of view, the level of juniors nowadays is really high. I mean, I don't know, when you started, when I started around 12 years ago or something, I guess there was not that much information out there. But now they are wow, I get super surprised about all the knowledge that they have.
And do you have any opinion on AI and the impact that it can have on developers?
this is like kind of a tricky question because in my opinion, everybody just talking about like, yeah, we're gonna be removed. The program will not be as60 anymore, and that has some like software as a services that try to do that. In my opinion, that will not happen. It's really difficult to do that. And what is gonna happen is basically we are gonna be like super productive. Like I think it's a tool that make the developer 4 times better, 4 times faster, and it's an amazing tool that if it's right use, it's super productive for the developer, basically. Yeah, in my opinion, yes, exactly.
My name is Christoph Neumann, and I work with the Clojure programming language, which is built on the JVM and targets the JVM, and it gives you a nice dynamic Lisp and a pretty high performance Lisp that runs on the JVM.
And what do you do in the Clojure community?
So I am the developer advocate for Clojure. And so my job is to help people hear about Clojure and learn how to use Clojure and be successful with using Clojure.
Excellent. And what are you doing at this conference?
So we're here at this conference to talk about Clojure and then also talk about Datomic, which is a database built using Clojure that doesn't forget anything. So it remembers every change that was ever made. So you can think of every change being its own snapshot. So you can go back a month or 2 or 3 in time and query data from that point in time. And so that was built on Clojure because Clojure has immutability. And so you can't change data in place. And so you can think of it as like getting snapshots for every change, but it does it in a performant way. So it gets rid of a lot of concurrency issues with people changing things in place. In mutable languages. So Clojure emphasizes immutability. And so Datomic's like a database that takes that principle too.
So final question. What is one thing that people typically don't know about Clojure that they should know about Clojure?
One thing they typically don't know about Clojure is sort of the development experience. So it's extremely interactive and live. So a Clojure program, you load the runtime, and then as you edit, you're updating the program live. And so you can edit the function and immediately run it and edit the function immediately, and it can immediately affect the current state. And so you're not compiling and running. You're working with the whole program right there in the middle of execution, in the middle of runtime. So most people don't understand that about Clojure because it's such a different experience than most languages where you have to compile, run.
My name is Victor Rentea. I'm a Java champion with almost 20 years of experience in Java. And what I do in the Java ecosystem, if I can say it like that, I'm doing workshops for companies using mostly Java. I'm talking with groups about performance, about architecture, about the best way to write the code in a maintainable way, that kind of stuff. So I'm basically a freelance trainer. So I don't have a company. People ask me, who's your employer? My wife or me. And I'm just going from company to company to do workshops. That's what I do every day, basically. Yeah.
And what are you excited about, or what do you find interesting right now?
Right. Well, as we all know, there is a humongous scope. There's a lot of stuff you need to learn, a lot of stuff you can spend your time understanding and digesting and going through your brains. And I'm really excited right now about how AI can help us in distilling and synthesizing humongous knowledge to our understanding, giving us like bit by bit. And that's what I like AI most for synthesizing common sense, wide knowledge that use for some reason were, let's say, left behind or aren't really fully up to speed with. So this I found best about AI, the ability to crunch the knowledge into digestible pieces that you can understand, and you can set the context, and you can tell AI, tell me what I need to know next based on my current. So I'm basically, if you want to put it like a personal tutor. That's something that really interests me.
Yeah, I'm Justin Reock. I'm the Deputy CTO at DX. That's getdx.com. And we have a platform for software engineering intelligence that blends qualitative and quantitative metrics to try to paint a picture of developer experience at a company and to try to make predictions about that company's developer productivity capabilities.
Excellent. And you've been involved in a number of organizations before this. How does what you're doing now connect to what you've been doing before?
So it's interesting. When I was at OpenLogic, what I realized was, giving developers access to secure and high quality open source really was something that contributed to the developer experience, which took me down the path to working for Gradle and talking a lot about developer productivity engineering and that philosophy. That would take me for a little while to a company called Cortex, who ships an internal developer portal, again, to try to build a more comprehensive developer experience and improve productivity. And that would finally take me to where I am right now at DX, which is, in my opinion, the most efficient way to measure productivity in an organization. We have a very comprehensive view of what the developer experience looks like. We have a custom metric frameworks built from Dora, Space, and then the DevX framework called the DX Core 4, as well as the Developer Experience Index, or the DXI. And so it's always been building towards this attempt to measure and thereby improve developer productivity by way of improving developer experience.
So what is developer productivity and what is developer experience, and how do they relate to each other?
Well, developer productivity, I think, is measured by a series of different metrics. So you have to be very careful not to over-index on a single metric or try to look at one metric for what productivity means. We need to look across multiple things like PR throughput, certainly, but also things like what we call the innovation ratio, which is the amount of time that a developer can spend on new features versus maintenance and keeping the lights on. Developer experience is a cumulative set of different factors that sort of work together to form what a developer deals with in their day-to-day. So these are things like code maintainability, change confidence, documentation, and a lot of other drivers such as that.
So DX has a dashboard or something similar, or some tooling that shows all these different metrics?
Yeah, we do have a great dashboard that is able to report on a lot of metrics that are gathered from different areas. So for instance, we gather qualitative data through highly effective developer surveys. And by that, I mean that we see 85, 90, 95%, even more participation rates on these surveys. The surveys are engineered to look at developer experience as a systems problem. In other words, asking developers about how the platforms that they work with, the processes and the culture of the organization contribute to their own productivity. We gather data qualitatively that way, and then we correlate it with system metrics that are gathered from APIs and various tools that the developers might be using. We have over 40 connectors that we can gather that data from.
So what is a key learning, surprising key learning that users of DX gain from it?
I think that, right off the bat, you gain a lot of insight into where the actual bottlenecks in developer experience are. And, from there, you find that maybe our velocity looked good according to a single metric. But when we start comparing this across multiple metrics, we find that we're hurting in other areas. Usually when we take one of these surveys and we gather one of these first snapshots, you find multiple areas of improvement in the organization. And of course, we recommend that you try to focus on what you think will be the most impactful and probably least effort to improve. But I think the biggest learning that people think is that they come in thinking that they're going to have, already an optimal developer experience, and they find right off the bat multiple areas of improvement.
How to get started with DX?
So we have a survey template that you can grab from our website that goes through the exact same questions that are captured by our qualitative metrics gathering. Each question maps to a different one of the DXI drivers that I mentioned.
So it's a questionnaire. It's like a PDF, or it's like a document that you download.
There's a Google form template that you can use, as well as a PDF that shows you each of the different questions, and it shows you two different ways to calculate your DXI score based on the responses to those questions. We've also published benchmarks on our site that can tell you kind of where you are in terms of your competition. So if you have areas where you need to work on or improve, this survey template can help guide you there.
So I'm kind of randomly quite interested in the documentation side of things, with a long history as a technical writer and so on. So what's the documentation angle that you mentioned earlier in the story?
Well, documentation is obviously a huge part of developer experience, right? How accessible the documentation is, how easy it is for developers to get their hands on that documentation, how up to date that documentation is, the modality of that documentation. Are we talking about a knowledge base? Are we talking about commenting? Are we talking about both? So we ask that question to developers, whether the documentation that they need to use on a day-to-day basis is accessible and usable. And, lo and behold, we find that that's actually one of the worst drivers normally when we go through this with organizations. Most organizations aren't getting it right. I think it's a combination of it's not coding, right? And so it's not necessarily the work that engineers are most excited about, but it creates sort of a vicious circle because engineers absolutely need high quality documentation to do their jobs effectively, but it's hard to get engineers motivated to create high quality documentation. Of course, AI is helping with this. We're about to publish a big report on various developer experience drivers that can be improved by integrating agents in the SDLC and talking about different ways to integrate AI agents into usually CI. So you can imagine a workflow where a developer commits some code, an agent notices that, looks at the committed code, and then updates the document or maintains the document, sends a draft to the engineer, and the engineer just has to say, okay, that's pretty good.
But that's kind of developer specific documentation, like just describing the services and the APIs and so on, which is different again to the kind of front end usage. If you have some product in production where users are going through your online application, your web forums or whatever you've created, how is that? Is that also incorporated into this? End user guides, basically end user documentation of your technology.
We really are focused on the developer experience, right? And
right.
So for us, we're talking about the documentation that's necessary for developers. But that front end and user documentation absolutely is essential for your customers. That's just not really what we're measuring.
Makes sense.
Probably shouldn't trust AI for that fully yet. So.
Right. And okay, so you've got this Google Doc and you've worked through these questions. Now, how do you transition from that to the DX technology itself?
Yeah, so surveys are hard, right? Getting engineers to take the survey, knowing where to integrate the prompts, knowing how often to remind engineers that the survey is available. So the best thing to do is to start with this survey template that we have like in Google Forms, roll it out in your organization, understand where some of the pain points are, and then realize that we have a platform that can automate all of that for you, that can make the surveys more customizable, and then also can tie them to actual things that you should do in response to finding that some of these drivers may not be as healthy as they could be. So we have part of the product called Atlas, which will actually recommend investments that you can make over the next 3 months or 6 months before you run another survey and grab more snapshot data to make sure that you've actually improved things. So you can think of the platform as taking the survey a step further and building like a whole framework for continuous improvement in the organization based on not just the qualitative data that comes from the survey, but also the system metrics that are coming from the platform, that are coming from SCN, incident response, and all the other elements of the platform.
My name is Will Fleury, and I'm the head of engineering at Zencoder.
And Zencoder is one of the sponsors of Foojay, so thank you very much. And it's been great working with your team already, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, we're delighted to be sponsors. Okay. It's JVM is a part of our stack as well, and of course everything around that is super important for us.
So, what does Zencoder do? What is it exactly?
So Zencoder is an AI coding agent in your IDE. So not just in your IDE, we also have autonomous agents just in pre-release also. But primarily our goal is to accelerate coding, accelerate the development lifecycle for professional software engineers. So we have plugins for both VS Code and all of the JetBrains family, so IntelliJ, PyCharm, Webstone, etc. Because we realize that most of the professional engineers in the world are living in enterprises, and an awful lot of them are Java based. So based in IntelliJ as well. So we try and support all of the main tools that the developers use today without forcing them to switch to something like VS Code.
So how does Zencoder distinguish itself from other similar technologies and plugins?
Yeah, it's a crowded space at the moment. There's a lot of going on. Again, relative to the primary competitor who's doing the best in the space at the moment, of course, is Cursor. And Cursor forces you to switch to VS Code. So that's a primary differentiator between us and Cursor will be that. And in the space in general, that's again one area we really want to make sure we do. ensure the developers don't have to switch out as they don't need. In addition to that, we have strong integrations, like tight integrations with the likes of Jira. We've kind of got 20 plus integrations that mean, from your developer flow, again, you can kind of work with the tools you have and the best tools for you. And apart from that, I said, we're really targeting that, that enterprise space. So our agent as well, we believe, this is about code completion, and which is a standard, if you like, out of the box these days in all of these powerful IDEs. But our coding agent as well is one of the best out there, if not the best out there. Again, there's always, on these benchmarks like SweBench and all of this, there's always different implementations and versions coming out. But of the main providers out there that have published, competing in our space, we were top, and I think we're still very close to being top. Not just in the coding one, in the SweBench verified, but also in SweBench multimodal, we were top for quite a while. And the only reason we're still not there is maybe we haven't, we wanted to get up there, but now it's not so important for us to kind of stay publishing our results there.
So from an engineering perspective, and without revealing any secrets or whatever, what does it entail to create an AI tool for developers?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's again, because the whole developer lifecycle, we're trying to figure out what's going to be the most likely place that they will start using it, because again, there's early adopters and there's the late adopters and there's the people in the middle. Mm-hmm. And where will they find the most benefit from it? So again, code completion, that's why everybody started there. Everybody started on code completion because it's just as part of your normal flow. In terms of the agent side of things, then, some people will use it heavier, some people won't, but in terms of trying to draw them into it and get initial benefits and get them hooked on it, and find the benefit of it. So we have specific ones for unit tests. So again, some people hate writing tests, but we still have to do it. So we've got unit test agents where are basically dedicated to help you understand and write a specific unit test for it. Or we also have what we call Zen Tester, which was recently released, which is built on doing full end-to-end tests. So we'll generate end-to-end tests for your website. You just point it to it and it will generate it based on what you provide, the information you provided. So that's the kind of hook into it. And the idea is that we want to tackle the full life cycle. So from the initial development, also requirements, so we have kind of a requirements tool, and we'll be adding the planning, kind of more advanced planning mode very soon as well. So to try and give opportunities to nudge in at different parts of your life cycle without saying, without forcing you to only pick one, let's say. That's the idea. Just try and give the right tools to get the most out of it for where you find it and most beneficial for you.
And what would you personally say is the most interesting or unique feature of Zencoder?
Unique features these days are hard, right? Everyone's moving around, so what I say is unique might not be unique tomorrow in everybody's family. So our multi-repo support, I don't believe it is in any of our competitors. I think maybe Windsurf has something similar, but we've introduced multi-repo support recently, which is again super relevant for most organizations, even startups have many repositories. Unless you're using a mono repo, you've got multiple repositories.
And what does it do in that context?
It allows you, so if you're working in one project, you can access the context, the files in another project. So you can index it, and then the agent can access and reference those. For example, it can reference an internal library that you have. Or it can access, reference if you're developing a front end and the API is on the back end. Obviously, they can provide the open API spec, but it can reference that in the other repository itself. So it's super useful, and the idea is, again, the difference with all of these is context. Context is king when it comes to making the agent useful, whether it's context that you give it, context that we help structure, or the context across your organization.
Myself, Kamesh, so I'm a lead developer advocate at Snowflake. I'm based in Bangalore, and a long time Java guy, doing Java for more than 20 years. Though I don't do a lot of Java right now, but still love to do that whenever it's possible.
Yes.
And now all I do is all about data. So what do you do with data? Yeah.
So what excites you about data in the context of Snowflake or anything that you're working on? What is interesting in the data space right now?
Yeah, the super interesting thing right now is like how do you take AI on enterprise data? That's super interesting because there's a lot of dimensions that it brings in. Security is one of the main factors. Like when people use AI, the first thing comes to their mind is things safe. That is one point you'd always land up and doing stuff. And then like some of the things like coming from a strong application background and infrastructure. So I always see that there are some things which the good things that we can take from the application world to the data world, which still is missing, in my opinion. So which you can start to apply there. And the real exciting stuff right now is like it's MCP, as everyone doing, and agentic AI. So these two things, like how do we make orchestrate tools to work together, right? If you can think back, like it take me back to the old SOA ESB days, like of Java, like where we say, hey, how do you orchestrate stuff together to make it work, like using messaging and other kind of platforms, which really is got up, right? I think I'm seeing a similar thing with AI right now, with agentic AI doing all orchestration work while they run some data-driven workflow.
Mm-hmm. And you're at this conference as a speaker. What is the specific topic that you're speaking on?
Yes, I'm going to speak tomorrow at this conference on how to engineering a data catalog on Kubernetes. So that's going to use Apache Polaris, which is an open source project that Snowflake donated to Apache Foundation, which is going to use Iceberg, this Polaris, and the basic idea for me is to how to get developers started using these technologies right from their laptops, especially on Kubernetes. And you know, like Apache Polaris is a Java REST-based API. In fact, Quarkus, I have a little legacy carrying from Red Hat, so Quarkus is something which is close to my heart. So it runs on Focus right now, and then like it's a REST API, triggers your catalog. And I'm going to show people like it's an open source thing that I did. It's available publicly on GitHub, where people can spin it up and then set the things up on their local laptops to start looking on Apache Iceberg, Polaris, and then move to Snowflake whenever they want to.
Hey, so my name is Cedric Clyburn. I'm an open source engineer and I'm a developer advocate at the best place, Red Hat.
Excellent.
You know, I love working with Linux and Kubernetes. And on this talk today, we were talking about Podman and how developers can deploy to Kubernetes easier.
So what excites you most at the moment? What do you find most interesting in what you're doing and in the community right now?
Oh gosh. That's a big one. The theme for me this past year was open source AI, because we've always had this definition of what is open source software, right? It's the code, it's the, the release of, the packages, all of this stuff that defines open source software. But open source AI, which, the keynote today is much different, right? Because you don't understand, well, you can get the architecture and the weights, but you don't actually have that training data. So Red Hat's kind of in a position where we work with the Linux Foundation on their openness for data and AI framework to define in 3 different phases how open a model is. And I think that's something really interesting, and it's going to continue to get more important as more people adopt LLMs, especially running their own deployments, right?
So what's one thing in this area that people don't know about that they should know about?
Oh gosh. Well, my biggest thing is that you can run your own AI, right? So this has always kind of been a possibility, but it was very complex in the past few years. You would use different frameworks like ON and X and standards like that. But now you can essentially, in a CLI, run a model from, Meta or Google or any of these other organizations with one single line. So you can use OLlama, Llama C++, Rama Llama, which exists. That one's a real one. But it's essentially that, you don't have to depend on third-party providers. You can control your AI journey. And I think that's really cool that a lot of developers are still learning, hey, I have this possibility and I don't need a GPU as well to do so.
Exciting times.
Yeah, it's exciting, and thank you for having me.
My name is Vermeer. I work for Sneak, a security company, and the things that we do is focusing on how to develop within Java or within everything, and then keep it secure and make it easy for developers.
And what are you focusing on right now in terms of AI and security?
Well, I think the things with AI and security is that people are looking at AI, and if you look at talks at conferences, it's how easy can you implement AI into a system, and that's super cool. However, there are also downsides, and there are also things you need to worry about to basically, if you give your LLM opportunities to add tools to it and give it autonomous powers to do certain things, or connect it to an MCP or whatever, like what could possibly go wrong if we give that to an LLM? There are new attack factors when you use LLMs in an application, or AI models in an application, and we have to focus on that as well.
What are the new attack vectors in the context of AI?
Oh, that's a good question. If you look at new attack factors, actually, it's basically the same as we did before. But, for instance, if you look at an LLM, you have a prompt. But as part of that prompt, we want to add, for instance, documentation or things from your database, and we use RAG, retrieval augmented generation, for that. If I poison the RAG, that means I manipulate the input, and therefore I can make the LLM go outside of the boundaries and do different things, act differently, and maybe execute different functions. And I think the same happens for instance, things like chat memory, which is an artificial thing because most LLMs are stateless. So chat memory is basically a conversation, and if I can manipulate that conversation as a pre-canned conversation and give that to the LLM, I might get out of boundaries as well, or out of the scope of the LLM or the actual application, and therefore let it execute different things that I normally don't want to do that.
These are the kind of topics that you talk about at conferences at the moment.
Yeah. There are two things I talk about. It's general security practices for your average developer, and also like how does this work now in the age of implementing LLMs. So yes, that's definitely a thing I'm researching and I'm talking about.
So let's leave with one tip on security and AI. What would be one tip that you'd like to pass on?
I think one of the greatest tips is please look at your essentials. Look at the essentials like input validation, basic authentication, and also apply that to your LLMs. As in, if you give your LLMs powers to execute functions, make sure that the person who is requesting this is also the admin, for instance, and not just a random user. Also look at if you put a prompt into your LLM, why not intercept it and sanitize it and or validate that this is within scope of what you want. So input validation and sanitization, we had to do this all the time in web forms, but it's not any different. Looking at role-based authentication, things we need to do as well. Have a proper architecture that thinks about what kind of data is accessible and what not. So actually, the old things, but now basically renewed with the sauce of LLM, basically. Yeah.
I'm Andrey Sitnik. I developed a post-CSS and a few popular JavaScript tools. But right now, my main focus is privacy and especially social media fatigue, how we can reshape the social media and how we consume information.
So the topic of privacy is really relevant right now. What are your observations, your insights on this topic that you talk about at conferences?
I personally big fan of the localhost, and there is a huge localhost community right now, huge localhost movement, which they really try to fight against all this problem with privacy. But unfortunately, this is only one part, and the second part just don't care. And we are in this situation when mostly people don't care, and only a small part of the people try to warn everybody about the very big danger of what we are going to. I personally think that main problem with privacy is that it destroys our industry, because it creates a very simple but very dangerous way of making money. I'm talking about the data brokers business model, and as a result, it reshaped our whole industry, and we selling the soul to the devil. And for instance, a lot of businesses right now we try to scale very fast, and this is the only way to do it. And it's really relative how we get information, how we get money. If we will go from this free model, but we try to find investors, try to sell our product, try to sell user data, to the model when users pay for ourselves, the whole industry will be better. Our favorite tools will not be dead in some random moment, etc. So this is my observation.
So what are some solutions that we can work towards, or what are some strategies to achieve that?
I personally think that the best thing which we can do tomorrow is just to remove GDPR pop-up. There is a lot of misconception about the law around the privacy, and a lot of people think that like GDPR pop-up is mandatory by the law, but it's not. It's technically the black design pattern to force user to agree to give the data. The law is pretty simple. Don't track users. It's a little more complex, but still, like the core idea. And in reality, like it's very easy to just stop tracking, and you don't need any pop-up. We need pop-up only because we want to continue our bad practices. And instead of trying to change ourselves, we punish our users with the pop-ups until they agree to give our data. And like it's very shady. Second thing, which like every developer could do, just reduce number of the people who have access to the user data. And for instance, like don't use Google phones. Any CDN have full access, and some of them they're okay, etc. But like if you will reduce the number of the services of CDNs of hosting providers, it will be much safer. So just stop to using Google phones, just copy both files onto your system, stop using CDNs for JavaScript, try to like put everything to one cloud, and it's a very good step. But third one is try to think about the local first architecture. This is really crazy moment right now what's happening in the industry. Like local first really reshape how we are making a software. This way it's impossible to refactor your software to the local first. But for the new projects, it's very nice option and people like it. It's not only good for the political reasons, but also for the business. It has a lot of benefits, but one of them is your application becoming much faster and people pay money for much faster application.
So what is one tip that you would like to leave the viewers of this interview with? One tip that they should think about?
Remove GDPR pop-up, please.
My name is Isabel. I'm a senior backend developer. I've been working with the JVM for, I think, around 6 years now, but I have more experience in other languages previously. And I'm also in a program from JetBrains called JetBrains Community Contributor, because I create content around Kotlin for the backend and server-side perspective.
Perfect. And what are you doing at this conference? What topics do you find interesting?
Well, I've been in a talk about cognitive load, which is a really interesting matter, especially because I work with microservices and teams that have a lot of microservices. So this is an interesting topic and a thing to take into account when you want to create more microservices or decide to go from a monolith to microservices or things like that.
And you mentioned that you'd listened to the Foojay podcast before.
Yeah, I actually did, especially one of the episodes where you talk about how to land speaking gigs at conference, and it was really interesting. I've been speaking in conference here in Spain for several years, and I did a couple of them in Europe. And this year, actually, I'm going to speak in another conference in October because I check a bit the tips that you gave and use them.
Perfect. And what are the topics that you talk about at conferences?
Well, it depends a lot, but I talk a lot about testing. I talk a lot about asynchronous communication, about, good practices for backend developers, and the last topics was how to use AI for testing, but doing it actually right, not just allow the AI to do everything by themselves, because you can work with the agent and get a lot of more value.
So what is the right way to do testing with AI?
Well, it's kind of a really interesting question because, for example, I enjoy a lot working with the agent, giving like specific commands. Like, for example, create me this repository for testing, or build this object model, and things like really specific. But I'm the one in charge of the testing flow. I don't allow the AI to do everything by itself because it kind of creates a bit of a mess sometimes.
What is one tip that you would like to leave the watchers and listeners to this podcast with? One tip around something that you think people should know.
Please do testing. Please do testing. That's the only thing.
Please do testing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have here Isabella. And tell me, what are you doing here?
Well, I came here to make connections since I'm a student. I'm going to my second year right now, and I came here to learn about more of the career I want to go to and kind of see meeting new people in the industry.
Okay, so have you attended many sessions?
Well, I try to attend every session I can here to learn more, and I actually learned a lot here.
And did you focus on any particular topic?
Well, I focus a lot on AI because I've been really into AI, and now especially it just makes me more motivated to kind of be part of that.
Interesting. So could you just highlight some, ideas or talks that you have attended that have impacted you the most?
Well, I think every talk has impacted me in some way. There's not really specific one.
And apart from the talks, how do you, which is your feedback from being in this conference apart from the talks?
Well, I think it's been really positive. I really like the people here, and there's a lot of new things I've learned and seen, and I just like the vibe here. It's really nice to be here.
My name is Ruben. I actually am not from Barcelona. I come from Andorra. I'm a private software architect, a platform engineer, mostly do freelance work. And I've been a volunteer for DevBcn for it's the third year, yeah.
So you look like you enjoying the session, but it's a bit, let's say, hard work, or it's so easy to be volunteer at DevBcn?
I would say it's stressful sometimes, but it's definitely worth it. Just the camaraderie in the organization, actually getting to see new faces and familiar faces as well. And you have sort of this vibe where, effectively it doesn't feel, corporate, commercial. It feels like people actually want to be here, sponsors and attendees, so it's really great.
Okay. And have you enjoyed any particular session, for example, anything that you would like to say, this session I like it very much because I was in that room, etc. Anything that you would like to...
Yeah, several. One of the ones I would like to actually talk about is privacy first from the development, basically local first architectures by Andrey. I think it was really amazing to effectively see someone basically push the idea that we as software engineers are also accountable for the software we develop and who we develop it for. And I think it was a really nice take. And also it's a mixture of technical talk with non-technical, basically widespread implications of software development. And also developing a game engine on IntelliJ. I think it was one of the most creative and fun presentations and talks I've seen.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any particular thing that you would like to say about DevBcn? If you would like to repeat something in the next edition or something?
Well, I just feel like we encourage everyone to come in, and I think it's definitely has quite a lot of space and ability to grow. And I think we're just scratching the surface. There are plenty of subject matters. We could do more tracks, right? So
that's a very good idea. Thank you, Ruben, for your help. Thank you for your words. And I hope to see you next edition as well.
I think so.
I am Horacio Gonzalez, and I work as Developer Relations at Clever Cloud, an European cloud provider.
Excellent. And what does that do? What is Clever Cloud? Can you tell us about it?
Clever Cloud is a cloud provider by developers for developers. We believe that today putting applications in production, it is way too complex. We are asking developers to know Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform infrastructure, and a lot of things that have nothing to do with development. So we want to go back to simple things, Git to prod. When your application is ready, you test it, it works, you do your pull request, it is accepted. And every time you merge in the main branch, we take the code, we build it in the same way that you do in your laptop, and we deploy it in micro virtual machines with the scalability you tell us, with the add-ons, database, whatever you want, and we give you back the observability to follow the production. Simply Git to prod.
Perfect. And can you tell us one thing that you're excited about or interested in or that you find really relevant at the moment?
Well, that's really complex because there are many things. Maybe I am following with interest how the artificial intelligence is changing the developer's job. for good and for bad. I am not telling that it is wonderful and everything is magic or that it is going to destroy the job, but it is creating an earthquake and changing the way as we develop applications. And I think today, experienced developers can leverage on IA, but people who are beginning in the job, new developers, I am not sure of how artificial intelligence is going to change the job. I worry a bit. I am optimistic because I prefer to be optimistic, but I love to see how the whole ecosystem is in a turning point now.
So now it's the time for Jonathan, not me, the other Jonathan in the conference. That he's coming from Bonage, a conference, a sponsor in the conference. And well, first, why Bonage is here and which is the objective that Bonage was searching for coming here?
Yeah, so Bonage is here because we are promoting our APIs. We do communication APIs and network APIs, and we are launching these network APIs in Spain. That's why we are here. And yeah, it's basically APIs to prevent fraud. Really interesting for banking and everything that requires an extra security layer. So we are provide that, and we are promoting that here. Yeah.
Okay, but I was wondering, so you can promote things, I don't know, using a newsletter, ads, Google Ads or something, but you are here. So you are paying for being here among hundreds of developers. Why? Which is the value that you think that the conference is providing that other means are not providing?
Yeah, exactly what you said. Like most of people here are developers, and we want developers to know us, to have us in mind when they are developing something, and this provides that. Just a great audience of developers that come here to learn, to know about the other companies, to even get hired. So that's why we are here, because we want the developers to know us, and this is just a great place for that.
Okay, thank you. Were you in the party yesterday?
No, unfortunately I wasn't.
Oh, so bad. So you missed the karaoke.
Yes.
But you are coming next year as a sponsor again, and you won't miss the karaoke party thing.
Yeah, that's mandatory. Next year, if we want to come back, he told us that, yeah, we need to be there in the karaoke. We cannot miss that. That's a requirement next year.
So finally, any advice, suggestion that you can give to companies that are not here and that they are losing all the value being in a conference like this one?
I mean, it's a great opportunity for people to know you, for you to get exposed to not only locally but globally as well. Especially, well, if you have if you're interested in hiring people in Barcelona, this is a great space for that as well, just to get exposure. And there's a lot of good companies here in Barcelona as well that so I mean, it's you cannot miss it next year. It's really great. The audience is great. It's mostly developers with a great level, great workshops, great talks. So there's nothing wrong about it. It's just everything is great.
My name is Luis Majano. I'm the CEO of Virtual Solutions, and I'm the principal engineer on the Boxlang language.
Yeah, and I'm Cris Escobar. I'm also part of the Boxlang team, and we are basically spreading the word about our new baby, which is Boxlang.
So what is Boxlang?
Ooh, rough question. All right, so Boxlang is a new dynamic JVM language. Compiles to Java bytecode, is dynamic, it's modular, and it's meant to be productive. So it's, I think the last dynamic language was more than 12, 14 years ago. So we really wanted to revive the dynamic space in the JVM. And we've been tinkering with this idea for a long, long time. We didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I want to build a new language. We're a little crazy, but not that crazy. But mostly it was because we've been building building libraries and frameworks for over 19 years. So I launched the first initial MVC framework for the Cold Fusion language in 2006. It's become kind of the standard standard in Cougil. And, all these 19 years, we've been building all of these libraries and ecosystem and tooling. And this was the last part. This was like, okay, we need to push the envelope with all the stuff that we're building. And we weren't seeing anything that would allow us to do that, right? So we kind of took the decision of, say, what would a new language be like, right, in 2023 at the time when we started designing it, right, and for the future, right, how would it evolve? And that's how we started, basically, is we started from scratch. We didn't fork anything. We didn't start from anything. We really did not want any baggage at all from other languages. We wanted to make sure that we started fresh with what it would look like for the next 20, 30 years, right? And that was the real challenge, right? How do you start from zero? But it was the best decision. We were able to basically go from nothing to a stable release in 20 months. We did over 30-something beta releases and alpha releases, release candidates, and migrating all of our internal apps into Boxlang as well. So I can talk a little bit more of the intricacies of Boxlang, but that's a little bit of a history compacted.
Perfect. So why is Boxlang called Boxlang?
Well, basically, we believe in open source. We have been working in the open source environment for almost 20 years, and all our open source products are under the last name of Box. We are the creators and also the owners of ColdBox and the Command Box and a lot of well-known products that use Box as last name. So for us, it was the natural evolution of Box language.
Mm-hmm. So what are some reasons why somebody would want to use Boxlang? Like very specific reasons why I want to start using Boxlang today?
Sure. Well, languages have evolved through time, but they all have become semantically the same, right? So semantically, the language is very similar to other languages. This is normal, right? But our niche is productivity, right? We come from the productivity space in Cougil, which was released in 2000. It was a great productivity platform, and we wanted to continue with that ethos of productivity, right? So you will see a lot of framework capabilities into the language itself, and that's what we wanted. And when we first designed Boxlang, we designed on two aspects: multi-parser and multi-runtime. We wanted to make sure that we could run multiple languages in the runtime, and we wanted to also basically execute everywhere, right? So we started first with a chip. The lowest common denominator where the JVM could run and bytecode can run, that's where we started. And we developed the entire language first at the core level. And the entire language is about 7 megabytes. It is extremely tiny. And right now it's still big because we still have a lot of debugging aspects around it that are going to disappear eventually. So it'll probably go even down, right? And fast, right? We can even start, repos and servers and everything extremely fast, probably faster than anything in the JVM. And so that was our first kind of focus. And then we did multi-parser, right? We have a history of 19 years of the Cougil language that we wanted to bring on day zero. And we did, right? We designed the parser to be able to parse different languages and all transpile into our BLAST, which is our aspect syntax tree for Boxlang, right? So everything basically has a transpilation layer that goes into the BLAST, and then the BLAST goes to bytecode, right? So that was a big focus of ours, to bring basically 3 ecosystems from day zero: Java, Cougil, and Boxlang from day zero. So this was very unique, very niche, and the entire language is also event-driven.
Okay.
Right? And this was also important because we saw the huge benefits of this in our frameworks, is that everything that works through interceptors and observer patterns was so easily decoupled, right, that we could grow it. So that's why our core is extremely tiny. And then basically there are events being emitted everywhere. When a class compiles, when a class is loaded, when a class is constructed, when a function pre-function, post-function. So you can listen to all of these things to basically do tooling and extend the language into more framework capabilities. So that is extremely unique into Boxlang.
So what does a hello world look like? I'm setting up my very first Boxlang application.
Yes.
The simplest one. How does it look?
Sure. You create a file called hello.bxs, which is scripting, and you put print line hello, and you're done.
That's it.
That's it.
There's no encapsulation class around it, no methods. Well, that is the method. Yeah.
That's the simplest.
Yeah.
Print line.
Yeah.
You're done.
Okay, and what would be the next logical thing after that?
Okay, we can do a class. So we can do class and then create a function called main, and then say print line hello. and that's it. By convention, so we do a lot of convention by configuration. CodeBox was the first conventions by configuration framework in the CFML space, and so we have a lot of conventions into the language itself. So by convention, it will find the main function, it will execute it, and that's it.
So is there integration with Java, for example, that you could call from the one to the other?
Yes. So,
and in which context would you do that?
So we really wanted to make sure that this worked very well, right? Because we've always wanted this in our tooling. So you can actually use Java in Boxlang natively, or you can use Java in Boxlang natively. So you can go either way, right? So if I am building a Boxlang application, I can import Java classes just as normal, use Gradle, use Maven, right? By convention, you could put it into a lib folder and everything will become alive in the class loader hierarchy that we have in Boxlang. And then you just say import like normal Java. We'll take care of the reflection, not a reflection, sorry, the invoke dynamic, because there's no reflection in Boxlang. We'll do everything the invoke dynamic for you, right? We'll make sure that we can address all those Java classes, right? And do all the casting for you, right? And then from the Java side, you can import Boxlang as a library, right? They're deployed in Maven, so you can just bring in whatever you need from Boxlang. And let's say you need an enterprise cache engine. Well, Boxlang has an enterprise cache engine. So you can basically import that into your project in Maven or Gradle, and then basically just leverage the Boxlang cache. Right?
Okay. So what are some, aside from that, what are some use cases why a Java developer would do this?
So productivity. That's the first one, right? We're looking for people to be very, very productive. We're also professional open source. So that means that we'll support you along the way. There's a professional open source version, which is free and open source, but you can also get plans that you can work with us and we can work with you, right? And we built tons of modules. We already have like 60 modules that we built that are curated by the team and certified by the team. So you don't have to go scouring the internet for, libraries that you want to work with, right? So there's things like PDF manipulation that's already part of the team that we've developed, right? Image manipulation, FTP connections, SFTP connections, right? Disk abstractions, right? The password securities. So we've really focused on all these 19 years of all the tools that we built, and we want to build them as modules. So basically the community can consume them and they're just part of the language.
Makes sense.
You just use those that you need. You are not forced to take all or nothing.
Yeah, you're basically building them in modules.
Makes sense. So what does the documentation and the community and forums and mailing lists and things like that look like?
Sure. So documentation is a sweet, dear thing of mine. That's actually how CodeBox became very famous, is because I decided from day one that if it was going to be professional open source, it had to be documented. So I'm a weirdo in that space where they call me the documentation weirdo, but it's so important. So our book is already written. It was actually written before the code was done.
Nice.
So we believe a lot in documentation-driven design, and we basically have an entire book at boxlang.ortusbooks.com, which is available. It is a live book. It is available, and we'll basically create, physical printed books out of that. But we're very finicky and very nitpicky about it. Actually, every single function has to be documented by the developer or by AI, right? But we're big believers in documentation. We've created a lot of tooling just so developers can find what they need.
Yep.
So that's super important for us. And then as far as community goes, we have all the community, I would say, avenues that we've built for the 19 years that are available, and they basically just have a new section, which is Boxlang, right? So all the developers that have been using our products, in companies like NASA, Air Force, Navy, a lot of universities in the US, European Commission, General Electric, right? So all these companies that have worked with some capacity with our products now are just part of the Boxlang family, basically.
I think it's also important to mention that we have an e-learning platform, which is called Boxlang Academy, with all those videos. I mean, a lot of people learns easily with videos and not reading nowadays, especially younger people. And there's a lot of material about how to get started using Boxlang in that platform. So that would be important for anybody that wants to join the movement.
Perfect. So, a final question: where do you see Boxlang going next? What's on the roadmap? What are the features that are coming?
The things that we believe. I mean, we have been part of a big community for a lot of years. So we believe that those new features and the roadmap should be driven by the community. So we are very open, and our aim is to respond really fast to community requests. So we have a plan. Obviously, we have a plan, which is in our website, but we are very flexible and we are very open to new suggestions. That's
perfect.
Very important for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
A little sneak peek into what we're building. So we're actually going to be releasing our new desktop runtime pretty soon, hopefully this month. So we're working on a JavaFX capabilities for Boxlang to do native Java and Boxlang desktop applications. So we built an entire framework around it to make it extremely easy for developers to create desktop apps, because we also have a scripting templating language. So that will allow you to build the UIs even reactively with Boxlang. So that's in the horizon for this month. And also Azure Functions have been a huge community request. So we had AWS Lambda core in the runtime, and now we have the Azure Functions runtime that we're working on. So those are things that are in the small horizon right now and short term.
On the pipeline, yeah.
On the pipeline. And then I would say after that, we're also working on a Groovy parser. So we did a lot of Groovy. We loved Groovy, but obviously it's dwindled throughout the years. And we want to do that the same as we did with CFML. So we're building the Groovy parser and the Groovy compatibility module. So basically, you can basically have your Groovy apps or Grails apps and bring them into Boxlang without touching source code and run in Boxlang.
I'm Miguel. I work as a sales engineer in Dynatrace for like Iberia. And like I mostly work on like deals where we try to like bring value through like an observability platform where they can like, let's say it's like the evolution of monitoring, traditional monitoring. We bring observability into our customers like IT deployments. So that's basically what we do.
And what did they typically find surprisingly amazing about Dynatrace?
So actually, I think that most of the companies right now are still stuck in this monitoring mindset where they just use like metrics to get alerted, like Prometheus, open source things, where they just see the data and then they act on. What we want is to bring up that opportunity, that information in order to automate those like remediations or actions or even information from like if you have a really high response time on your application, how do you deal with that? How do you avoid these big war rooms in where people get together to discuss about like incidents? So we try to bring value into that use case where they can like have a whole observability real time of their business through an observability platform. It's quite interesting. I mean, they're really happy. So we're here talking more with developers, which are the owners of the applications, the ones who make it, so they can like get value out of seeing what they do in real time. Like my code is responding like way too slow because like a database is not answering back what I want. So how do I get alerted on that? And like being able to automate all that process through like Terraform integration, observability as a code, all those features are what we're trying to tell the people here in this event.
And AI is, of course, the big topic of the moment. So how does that interact with what you're doing?
So quite a nice question, right? Like the thing that we're all talking about lately is agentic AI. So being able to provide a center of like communication between the different applications. Dynatrace plays a critical part in this model because it gives you the information on where to act. So imagine that you have an incident or a problem or your application has gone down. Through the agentic AI, that agentic AI is going to be able not only to grab information from the observability platform, Dynatrace in this case, so that AI is going to be able to coordinate the different resources within your environment in order to solve that issue. So you need, for example, to restart the database, then you have to inform the appropriate teams, and then you have to create and maybe close a ticket on your Jira environment. So all those actions, thanks to agentic AI, where you connect your different endpoints within your company, are going to act like independently, which is pretty awesome, actually, saving a lot of time.
Perfect. And final question, what are you excited about or interested in or enthusiastic about right now in the technology space?
well, I mean, what we talk about is quite much the most amazing things because it changes the whole the whole thing, like the whole way we work. Like all this AI. I mean, the other day I was reading that the most trendy programming language right now it's English, because that's true. Because like it's a huge mindset, like change of mindset that we are facing right now, and doubly, I mean, it's going to impact not only observability but many other like scenarios in the IT world. So I'm looking forward to see how is this agentic AI is gonna arrive in these customers like in not more than 1 year from now, because this is everything going so fast. So I think that's definitely the main thing that we should take care of like right now.
Okay, so now we have Silvia from Dow Jones, and she's going to talk about, well, which is her experience with DevBcn. Tell me, why are you here?
We're here because we heard that this event would have like a great visibility and impact in the Barcelona community. We are Dow Jones, so Dow Jones provides journalism, data intelligence, and we have been around for many years, but in Barcelona we are not that well known. So we essentially wanted to have a little bit more of visibility in the technology community because we're expanding the technology hub, and it's so great to connect with the local talent in tech in Barcelona.
Okay. So what would be your advice for those companies that are not that lucky and they are not here? So how is your experience saying, yeah, I didn't know that this would be so great, and it is?
I would advise them that it's an amazing opportunity to connect, really to talk to people. That is great, not just local, because we talk to people from Germany, from people from different countries in Europe that came just for this. And it's also super nice to connect with other technology companies that we didn't have relationship with. So you create a lot of synergies in a super nice environment. People is super open to come to your stand and get to know your company, what they're doing. So this has been a super nice experience so far for us.
And I've heard that you also have a speaker talking in the conference, right? So can you talk a bit about it?
Yes, we were lucky enough to have one of the speakers in data science being one of the key speakers. He's going to talk about data science, what we do at Dow Jones. So it's a nice opportunity as well, again, to get people know what we're doing at Dow Jones in technology. And also a great opportunity for Gabriele, for our speaker, to connect with the community and share his knowledge.
Okay, sounds amazing. So just to finish, I don't know, can you give a product company pitch for people that, well, want to know more about Dow Jones?
Of course. Well, at Dow Jones, we provide trusted information, trusted journalism, and data intelligence for companies. Probably people know us for one of the most popular products, which is the Wall Street Journal, the newspapers. But we have other like Barron, MarketWatch. We have Factiva, which is a giant database of news that with billions of articles that companies use to do research and make better decisions in the end. So yeah, we have 5,000 employees worldwide. We have offices in many countries, and we have a tech hub in Barcelona that is expanding. So that's it.
I am Rijo Sam. I am originally from India, now settled in Netherlands. I'm here in Barcelona for the conference now, and I work as a Java chapter lead in ABN AMRO Bank. I work partially as a Java developer and a manager for a team of 8 Java developers. So that's what I do.
And you're also an international speaker, and you're here to deliver a talk. And what's your talk about?
Yeah, I'm here talking about framework agnostic development with Java. So it's about how you can develop in plain Java without a lot of framework. So we need to it's more about how to reduce the framework usage and how to deal with that.
It kind of sounds like NM being the kind of lean coding type approach without frameworks, without stuff, just pure Java.
Yeah, not exactly. We need framework for some parts, and not exactly. It's not vanilla Java type, or it's not advocating to only use Java. Use framework, but use it wisely. Limited usage. You don't need frameworks everywhere. So your core business, you don't need frameworks there. You can use pure Java or Jakarta there and keep frameworks to a minimal effort so that if you want to switch, you can easily switch only that deployment module of framework. So that's the approach I try to do because completely ignoring a framework will be stupid. Yeah.
So what are some concrete examples or use cases that you talk about?
Yeah, for example, if you want to connect with database, it's always easy to connect with a string JPA or something. Instead of doing that, use Jakarta persistence and keep Spring out of that module and only use as a deployment module where you connect your beans. That's it. So that's one example simply you can do. So your database module will be completely free with Spring or Quarkus, whatever it is. Also, if you change your core business logic to a module where there is no Spring or Spring needed, you just need to initiate it with new. That's also works. So you can completely remove all the frameworks from your core business module, which only do your like for example your logic of what your application is doing. Yeah, that's
perfect.
Yeah.
So aside from this topic, what is interesting to you at the moment? What are the topics that you're thinking about, and what makes you enthusiastic about the developer ecosystem?
I always am enthusiastic about culture, about how people work outside of developer comfort. So it's easy to technical things, but then we also need to understand a little bit about culture, how people work, and how people are wired. Actually, all of us are different, and we all are capable of doing things. But it's always difficult to work together. So that's always my favorite topic to work on, because world is populated with a lot of cultures, so it's a never-ending subject.
So in your Netherlands context that you're in, what's an example from there versus a different culture that is very specific?
Yeah. Something I found here itself in Dutch timing and Spanish timing is totally different here. So 6:30 in Netherlands, I try to be there at 6:30 exactly, or maybe 1 minute earlier. Here, even if I want to be there 6:30, it will be 6:45 or 6:50. I experienced it here in 2 days, like last 2 days.
Hello. Well, I'm Nacho.
I'm Jonathan.
We are the core organizers and founders of the DevBcn. Hello, everybody. What we can say?
Well, this is the second day of the conference. We are tired. I don't have voice. Maybe it's because it's cold in Barcelona, or maybe it's because we had a karaoke yesterday. Who knows?
Probably the party had some, let's say, reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had, let's say, many sessions already. The workshops happened 2 days ago, and what else? There's a lot of content that happened. It's still happening here today. A lot of AI, a lot of Java. What else you saw, Jonathan?
Yeah, Kubernetes, Python, leadership, JVM stuff. Who knows? Maybe related to Lang4j.
Yeah.
But who knows? Yeah, it's been full 2 days. Very a lot of passion, a lot of energy, a lot of conversations between all the attendees and speakers.
Yeah, and all of the sponsors, I think they are super, let's say, eager to come here and to see how the things are working, to connect with others, to see how the community, the developer community in Barcelona is, let's say, still growing and growing. And as well, we have non-profit organizations with us, helping other, let's say, people to work with the technology, etc. So what we can say more? We invite the people now to come to Barcelona next year to DevBcn.
Yeah, so July or maybe June, Barcelona, summer, paella, sangria, beach, technology, people.
Yeah.
Well, so come again.
Yes,
Come again.
it looks like a good plan.
Yeah, it looks like a good plan. We will be here.
Yeah. See you. We hope to see you tomorrow. What tomorrow? Next year.
Yeah.
That's it for DevBcn Part 1. The next part is a bit special. Some of the interviews were done in Spanish, and these are combined in Part 2 next week. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to the Foojay Podcast in your app or on YouTube. Keep an eye on foojay.io for future articles and podcasts about development and everything related to the Java world. See you!
Give me a foo, give me a J, give me the friends of OpenJDK.